Hey, good morning. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here. So I'm Rick Neitzel, as you've heard earlier, and I've got Lauren here with me too. We're very happy to chat with you about the Environmental Health Promotion and Policy class. I know you've been getting barraged with information already this morning from slides and lots of different people you've heard from. So I thought rather than continuing the the barrage of slides, we just have a discussion here. And so if you guys have questions, you can just type them into the chat box and we can answer those as we go. So I thought I would just give you kind of an overview of the program. And Lauren, I'll invite you if you have any insights or thoughts you want to share, please feel free to interrupt me. So as I think I've communicated to all of you by email or by phone call, the EHPP program is really a unique program in the U.S. We're the only one of our kind. We have been around for about 3 years now, so it's still very much a new program. And as you've probably seen from our website, I kind of view this program as sort of a Venn diagram where we have one of the circles of the diagram is environmental health sciences. One of the circles is health promotion, and one of them is health policy, basically. And so we're trying to hit that sweet spot right in the middle of the Venn diagram where we're giving you some foundational training in environmental health. So we absolutely want you to be able to converse with scientists in environmental health, but you don't go quite as deep into some of the science, and instead you branch off from other students in our programs and end up taking more courses in health behavior and health education, and also courses in health management and policy. So those are both other departments in our School of Public Health. But then sort of equally importantly, we encourage you and in some cases require you to go elsewhere on campus to take courses, for example, in the School of Public Policy. And so the idea here is we're giving you the tools and the preparation necessary so that when you go out and get a career in public health, you're able to efficiently be basically the liaison between the hard environmental health scientists and the policymakers and the public as well. So again, you have the tools to talk policy with those who are policymakers. You have the tools and the preparation to be able to understand, well, what do I need to do to promote health in a community or a workplace or wherever we have an environmental health problem? And then again, you can be basing all of this on the environmental health science that we have that sort of allows us to connect human health impacts to features of the environment, either chemical or physical or biological hazards they're exposed to, or features in the built environment, or environmental justice issues, inequities, and exposure. So really that is the goal of the program. We want to get you set up in that very multidisciplinary way. And so I would say this program is unique in the United States, as I already mentioned, but it's also very unique within our school in that in the School of Public Health, most students take courses mostly in their department. And in this program, again, we're sort of consciously pushing people outside so they get experience interacting with other disciplines, other professions, people who think about public health, if they think about it at all, in a very different way. So you can really be prepped to interact with a whole range of stakeholders when you graduate. And Lauren, I don't know if you would like to chime in too. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I actually ended up choosing Michigan because of the EHPP program. So I knew I wanted to do something kind of interdisciplinary and take classes not just in public health, but in policy and communication too, especially because I did my undergrad in a communications related major. So I was kind of looking to continue with that. And it was just as you said. So we take a lot of classes through law school, the School of Public Policy, School for Environment and Sustainability, which is kind of nice because you get to go to other schools on campus and see the work they're doing. You can join organizations. I'm in a lot of organizations at the School for Environment and Sustainability too, as well as the School of Public Health. So lots of opportunities for that, not even just inside the classroom, but doing organizations and student clubs. So.
One of the other features of the program that I'll highlight, so I have, of course, never launched a degree program before in my career. It's a very interesting process, lots of hoops and hurdles to get over and through. But when we launched this program 3 years ago, we had a curriculum that the faculty all felt was a good mix of all the attributes we've talked about already. But one of the really amazing things to me that's happened in the 3 years since is that students like Lauren and students in other cohorts have had discussions with the faculty, and we've been able to identify other classes on campus that frankly, we here in environmental health were not even aware of. So a student like Lauren might come to me and say, hey, I found this great class in our school for environment and sustainability, or in the law school, would this fit into our curriculum? And we've ended up expanding the curriculum and allowing people to do a little more tailoring than was the case when we first launched the program. Again, because students have come to us and said, I have an interest and there's a class here that fits my interest. And I feel like that fits nicely with the program. So we're looking today at a much more kind of customizable program than what we launched even a couple of years ago. And I think that's been a real strength. And so if you choose to come and join us here, which I hope you do, I'll extend that offer as well. So when you get here, I mean, I don't want to speak for Lauren, but I'll definitely speak for myself. The course catalog is overwhelming here. There's like 55 million classes offered at the University of Michigan. I'm aware of many of them, but students like Lauren can get here and say, well, I'm really interested in this particular topic. So they go to a part of the course catalog that never would have crossed my mind and come back with a class where it's like, this class fits perfectly with our curriculum. So we do have this, I think, again, pretty unique feature where it's a very interactive relationship with the instructors in the program, and students have had a real tangible chance to influence and steer the program, and I think even better directions than what we had originally envisioned.
I'll just echo that Michigan is huge, so there are courses and like literally everything, so lots of opportunity to personalize your schedule, and I found it to be pretty easy. I'm talking to Dr. Devanch, who's my advisor for UHPP right now about next semester and maybe trying to get some new courses approved, so yeah.
Yeah, so again, this is not, I would say, sort of an intentional feature of the program, or it wasn't originally, but it really has turned out to be a quite successful approach to let us give you the maximum flexibility possible for you to come here and get a degree where you say, you know, this is exactly what I was looking for. I will say, again, we are kind of the only program in town that is in this discipline, so I think if you come here, you're already going to be getting as close as possible to what you're interested in. But again, this sort of added flexibility when you get here, I think, is a real strength of the program. Another question, it doesn't look like anyone's had a question so far, so I'm happy to keep on talking. So I'll just say one of the real strengths that our department, as well as our school, has is placing people. So our department has been around for 60 years, 70 years now. We're one of the oldest environmental health departments in the whole United States, if not the world. So many of our programs have been around for decades, and we have a really established mechanism where companies, organizations will come to campus and they're looking for interns. That's great. For a newer program like this, we don't necessarily have that pipeline quite so set up. We still have employers who are coming, and I think many of them have said, oh, you've got this new program. Well, that's something we have a need for too. So we're tapping into that pipeline, but it's also forced the faculty and the students to get kind of creative, because honestly, students who are coming like Lauren may have a little different career path than what we're traditionally used to. And so I think we've had a lot of opportunities for the faculty to sit back and say, how can we do a better job preparing the students to go out and get the exact internship they want? As a department, a lot of our students end up going and working for industry for their internships. I think for EHPP students, that's not necessarily the sweet spot they want to meet. So we've really been trying to amplify our efforts to connect with government organizations and with non-governmental organizations too, because I feel like that's often a really nice fit for EHPP students. At the same time, we've also had people go and work for public health departments or go to Washington, D.C. and work for for example, a congressional unit. So lots of opportunities here. The internship really is, I think, a highlight of the program, in that it gives you a chance to go out and actually realize how much you've learned in your first year, which I think is a really nice feeling. But it can also open your eyes to, oh my gosh, I realize now that I need to know more in this particular area. And so again, that flexibility with the coursework, it may be that you come back after your internship and you say, well, I was planning on taking these courses. So the internship is a huge part of any MPH, and I feel like, and Lauren, please chime in, I feel like we've got a pretty good mechanism in place here at Michigan to make sure you get an internship that's going to really set you off on the path for the career that you want. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. Well, I would also just say that I think as I've been applying to internships and have applied to jobs in the past, I think that having an interdisciplinary degree is kind of a valuable thing on applications. So if you're applying to a position and you can say, oh, I have a policy background too, then that could be really appealing to an employer rather than just coming from a single background. And yeah, I would also say that I've never felt like I wasn't going to find an internship. There's been a ton of support. I'm supposed to be going to Geneva this summer to intern with the United Nations Environment Program. Hopefully that'll all turn out with all the international travel. But yeah, I felt like they helped me find that in the Public Health Career Center, and EHS.
Fantastic. Yeah, and this is another actual strength that I should emphasize here, and I think you probably heard something about this earlier, but when I was an intern in my own master's program, it never occurred to me to go outside the U.S. I focused totally on domestic internships, of which there are many. But coming to a place like Michigan, where there's this incredible global connection and network, has really opened my eyes. And so, as Lauren said, she's programmed into an internship, and hopefully everything goes well to go to Geneva. And I think for the past several years, each year we've had someone go to Geneva, either for the World Health Organization or UNEP. And the school actually provides support for this. So there is this funding program available from our Office of Global Public Health to support folks who specifically want to go outside the U.S. and do some kind of public health practice, basically. So we're, I think, better positioned than many of our competitor schools to support that. It's one thing to say, oh, it's great to go get a global internship, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay to get you there. And if you're working with an NGO in Africa or Asia, or particularly in a low-income country, the odds that they can afford to bring you there are pretty slim. So for our school to say, we want you to do this and here's some funding to help that happen is pretty amazing. So internships, I think, again, are another real strength of the program that you would take advantage of were you to come join us. So I don't want to just talk at you folks endlessly. Why don't we pause now, and if you have any questions or concerns, are they able to unmute their mics and just talk? Yeah.
We do have one question.
Oh, we have a question here. Okay, so what are some of the other internships that people in this program have done? That's a great question. So I'd say to highlight them at kind of a high level, probably a third of our students have ended up going to work for public health departments here in Michigan and actually all across the United States. Maybe a third of our students have ended up going to NGOs to do that. We've had a few who have really had a specific path in mind. So something I'll suggest for you, regardless of where you go for an MPH, if you really know exactly the kind of job you want when you graduate, that's really useful to communicate to your advisor as soon as you get to the program. If you're incredibly broad and any job sounds good, you're going to find a job, no problem. But if you want a very specific job, the earlier you get started on that, the better. So we've had a few folks who have come and again said, I really want to be in DC this summer and I really want to work either for an agency there, a federal agency, or with Congress to do something. Those take a little bit more time to line up. But again, that's where I'd say the other third of our students have gone. And that actually brings me up to another point, which is, so we're a new program. We have only been around a couple years, and we're a pretty selective and small program. So a typical cohort for us is going to be probably anywhere between 3 to 6 students. So this is not a place where you're going to come and you're going to have 90 classmates who are all in your same degree program. It's small, it's intimate. I think, as you heard Lauren said, that kind of maximizes your chance to interact with the faculty. Mm-hmm. And so I think our cohorts tend to form a pretty nice bond. And of course, these classmates of yours will be your colleagues for the rest of your career too, in your professional network. So I don't know if that answers your question. That was a fairly rambling answer about where people go for internships. But again, I would say if you come and you have a very specific internship in mind, we can make that happen. It's just the more particular you are, the earlier we need to get started.
And then I think on the flip side too, if you're not really sure what you want to do, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I kind of found my way. I was in a global internships class, so I knew I wanted to go abroad, and they helped me find something that kind of met my interests. So even if you're not sure, then you can also find something for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so, Lauren brings up an excellent notion here, which is if you want to do a global internship, that's kind of a different beast than just going to work for your local county public health department. Different set of challenges, different set of opportunities. And so because it's maybe a little more, well, it's certainly more logistically complex, but it's also maybe more conceptually difficult, we actually offer a class to help you think about that and to actually prepare you to write a proposal to get one of these global internship funding opportunities. So again, we do want to make sure that everybody comes here is supported and they're getting the advising they need, the contact with their advisors, and because we have a smaller program, I think we do a pretty decent job. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but trying to make ourselves available to the students to answer questions about internships or courses or careers and everything else that comes along with a graduate program.
I definitely agree with that. And I would also say that even outside of the environmental health science department, you have access to the public health careers office. So they send out internship blasts like every week with emails about different job postings and different opportunities kind of year round. So that's always on my radar too.
Wow. So I didn't even know you got weekly emails. That's great. Fabulous. Yeah, so certainly you're housed within the Department of Environmental Health Science in this program, and we're a pretty tight-knit community, but Lauren's absolutely right. We have the much larger School of Public Health around us with even more resources. They're not necessarily so tailored to environmental health, but tons of opportunities. So Clarissa, that was a great question. I think you have another one here. So can you talk more about the global internship opportunities? Do you want to talk a little bit more about your process of finding that opportunity, Lauren? Is that okay?
Sure. So I was in the class that you talked about, the global internships class, and basically we would have different guest lecturers coming each week to talk about their research and help you get a better feel of where you wanted to go and what kind of work you wanted to do. And then basically, by the end of the class, you write a draft proposal to apply for funding. So basically helping to set you up to apply for funding when you decide to go abroad. So I didn't know where I was going to go or what I wanted to do, but I kind of found my way to Geneva and that program. There were a few other people in that class. One person is planning to go to Ghana and do research there. So there are a few different things going on, and I know you do a lot. You came in to talk to our class.
I did.
So I know you take students abroad sometimes too.
Absolutely. So I can give you an example just from my own individual faculty experience. So I've had a project going on for several years now focused on electronic waste recycling. So people who are doing informal recycling of your old iPhone or your old laptop or your coffee machine or refrigerators, everything that has electronics, it's a pretty nasty job, as you might imagine. And so last summer, I had a student go to Thailand to work with one of my colleagues there. So she basically embedded herself in Thailand and worked with this colleague and also visited our study community and came up with essentially a policy evaluation of how e-waste is being handled in Thailand. So that was very much a mix of sort of academic research on what do policies look like, but also actually going out to communities and seeing what do these policies look like. I don't care what it looks like on paper. How does it actually work in the real world? And so I'd say, again, just me personally, I've probably sent 1 to 3 students abroad to work on some of my research projects virtually every year since I got here 8 years ago. So the faculty can be another really nice route to identifying opportunities. And again, Clarissa, if you say, I really want to do a global internship, I know that right from the outset, then something you'd want to do as soon as you decide to come here is really start reaching out to faculty to ask, what kinds of opportunities do you have? And this global health internship class that Lauren mentioned is a great resource as well. Other questions or things you'd like to learn about the program? Sure, yeah, we can. You're very welcome. So Kathy here is, so if you have anything you would just want to shout out to us, that's great as well. Don't be shy. Too much pressure on a Saturday morning, perhaps. I totally get it, believe me.
I mean, going back to the global internship. So even outside of the office, I know for mine, Geneva is a more expensive location than I think a lot of people are planning to go to. But they're, again, emphasizing that Michigan is a really big school. There are a lot of different offices and centers on campus. So I applied to some through the Center for the Education of Women, the International Institute. There are a few other scholarships around. So there are a lot of different opportunities to fund it if you just seek them out and find them around campus.
Yeah, great points. I don't even have a good handle for how many centers there are that do funding. So Lauren's just mentioned a couple. I think within the International Institute, there's like 16 or 17 regional specific centers. So for example, some of my students have gotten funding from our Center for Southeast Asian Studies. So if you were to come and say, oh gosh, I want to go to Thailand or Indonesia, that's really where I want to go to do my internship. There's actually a whole center all set up to help you get funding to do just that.
Hello,
Yeah,
it's Clarissa. Oh no, a little while ago, the audio blacked out. Is it just me in the session? Is that what you were saying?
No.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds like you maybe missed what Lauren was saying about
Yeah.
the global
If you
funding.
could please
Yeah.
repeat that, thank you.
No, I'm not sure what happened there.
No.
Do you want to briefly recapitulate what you said? Sorry for the repetition here.
Oh,
So
no
I was
problem.
just talking more about I was just saying that Michigan is a really big school, so there are a lot of different centers and organizations on campus to find funding. So other than the Office of Global Public Health, which is probably the main source for our internships, you can find funding through the International Institute, Center for the Education of Women, and then various other scholarships and fellowships around campus. So yeah, just saying that funding is possible, even because I'm going to Geneva, which is more expensive. So
Sure.
even with that. Finding it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for repeating
Yeah, of
that.
course. Any other questions? I don't want to keep you if you guys have heard what you need to hear. Hopefully this has been pretty convincing. Again, we would love to have you join us here in the fall.
Yeah, I found it helpful. I am very interested in joining you guys in the fall, so this is very good
Fantastic.
to have. Yeah.
Well, I'll just say, going forward, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to answer ones that I can answer. And again, if you want the student perspective, our students
I can also drop my email.
Sure,
If you
yeah,
wanna
yeah,
send me
absolutely.
emails, then. Yeah, so you can feel free to email me too if you have any student questions.
Great. So just one final call. Any other questions? Otherwise, we can wrap up here and let you get on with your Saturday. All right. Well, hearing none, again, thank you so much for joining us. Hope that this was helpful. Please don't hesitate to follow up if we can be of assistance, and we would love to see you here come September. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and stay healthy.
Thank you.